We can't tune into television for very long before we see advertisements for various pharmaceuticals. If we think about it, if we were to see one that promised to prevent and cure heart disease and cancer, we would either all be lining up to get it, or we would say skeptically, it's too good to be true. In some way, that is the reaction to what we are called to focus on today as we celebrate this annual solemnity of the body and blood of Christ. Because in the Eucharist, when we stop and think about it, we are offered the remedy, not merely for serious illness of whatever sort, but rather the remedy for death itself. Such a remedy would not be found in any human invention, no matter how marvelous, nor will it be awarded for any human merit, no matter how seemingly virtuous, because only divinity itself is the remedy for mortality. And only by partaking of divine life can we have any hope that we would live beyond death. And so Jesus offers himself to us as the bread of life and the cup of salvation under these appearances of common bread and wine, which when consecrated in accordance with his final instructions, truly become his death-defying body and blood. That is why Jesus does not merely invite, but if we would look at it, he actually commands us to celebrate and receive the Eucharist at least once each week, preferably on the first day of the week, when he says, "Do this in memory of me." It's not something complicated. It's starkly simple. And of the 168 hours allotted to us in a week, this one essential thing can be accomplished in less than one of them. Hardly a very high price to pay in turn for what is being offered. Yet what even some believers fail to see is that the Eucharist is more a necessity than it is a nicety. Because as Jesus himself reveals in a passage from the Gospel of John, that unless we eat of the flesh of the Son of Man and drink of his blood, we cannot have life within us. A clear reference to his own divine life that alone is death-defeating. Yet, we might ask, where is everyone? For many, it is perhaps just too simple. For others, it seems just too fantastic, too good to be true. Yet divine wisdom is always profound in its simplicity. For what better way to become a part of us so that we can become a part of him than for Jesus himself to offer himself to us as simple food and drink. And while apparently just a plain wafer and a simple sip of wine, the Eucharist is in truth our invitation to a banquet of unending life, and that this sacrament is the means Jesus provides for us to share in his life-giving death and his death-defying resurrection. So let us not try to complicate things, as many indeed do, and worship in all these various innovative ways, nor think that there is some other or better means for us to be in communion with him than the one that Jesus himself prescribes, nor fall into the all too common error that this is merely a symbol and not a reality, for that the Eucharist is truly Christ's body and blood, has been, if we would only research it, demonstrated miraculously more than enough times across 20 centuries. Rather, let us hear Christ's words Do this in memory of me, as a command as weighty and as essential to authentic Christian life as are the familiar words, love one another as I have loved you. Humbly realizing the truth that it is absolutely humanly impossible to love as unconditionally as Jesus loves, unless we are actually in communion with him. So on this annual feast of Corpus Christi, let us make every effort to rekindle the awe that should be ours at the reality of so great and generous a gift to us as individual believers and to the church as a whole, and so more sincerely revere and respect what is the sacrament of all sacraments, by which Christ, who humbled himself to share in our humanity, allows us to actually share in his divinity, and does so as the only sure remedy for mortality itself.